How you doing?
Let's bow our head for prayer. Our most precious Heavenly Father, be with us tonight as we do the business for the town of Benson and for the residents that live here. Lead us, guide us, and direct us in the way that you have us to go. And if we get off track, get us back on track to do the work of this community and to follow the rules that you've given us. In God's name we pray. Amen. Let's stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I call the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. We have an addition to the printed agenda that you have. Our town manager wants us to add NCGS 143-318-11A6 to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, and conditions of appointment or condition of initial employment of an individual public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee, or to hear or investigate a complaint, charge, and grievance against an individual public officer or employee. We want to add that to the end of the meeting, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addition.
I'll make that motion.
Any other discussion? We got to call the roll on each one. Max Rayner.
Here.
For or against? Dean McClam.
Aye.
Cassandra Stack.
For.
Maxine Holly.
For.
And Will Chandler.
For.
And William Neighbors.
Okay. I now call Scott Tart to introduce a new employee.
Good evening. It is my pleasure tonight to introduce to you our newest patrol officer here at the town of Benson, Mr. Andrew Benson. We're proud that he has decided to start his law enforcement career at the place where he grew up. He spent 4 years in the United States Marine Corps, stationed at Camp Lejeune, and he has just recently finished his basic law enforcement training at Carteret Community College. So we want to give him a huge welcome to the family here at the town of Benson. And at this moment, I will turn it over to Ms. Thornton to do the official swearing in.
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, that I will be alert and vigilant to enforce the criminal laws of this state, that I will not be influenced in any manner on account of personal bias or prejudice, and that I will faithfully and impartially execute the duties of my office as a law enforcement officer according to the best of my skills, abilities, and judgment, so help me God.
So help me God.
Okay, congratulations. If I can just get you to sign here, and then if you want to say a few words.
Hey, how's it going? Didn't really know I was going to have to give a speech tonight, but it's a pleasure to meet you all, and look forward to serving this community.
We're glad to have you, Officer Benson,
Yes, sir.
and we look forward to working with you. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I now entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
I made a motion.
Any other discussion? We call the roll, and if you're wondering why we're calling the roll on everything, we have one of our commissioners that's on Zoom, and he can vote just like anybody else. William Neighbors. Dr. Rayner. Dean McClam.
Aye.
Cassandra Stack. Maxine Holly. Will Chandler.
Aye.
All in favor. That's it. Public comments. Individuals wishing to address the board are asked to provide their name and address for the record. Anyone that wants to speak, come forward. Anyone that wants to come before the board and speak, come forward. No one coming forward. We close the public comments. We're now on old business. I was really pleased that last meeting when I couldn't be here, that a really good suggestion relative to the Benson Veterans Memorial came forth, and we had a get-together for anybody that wanted to come out at the site last week, and not to decide on anything, but so that everybody would know where it was and what it was. It is located on East Main Street, across the street from McDonald's, beside the Advance store, and it is 75 by 150, so it's a good size lot, and we really are interested in, or at least the committee is interested in, how the town feels about having this as the site for our Veterans Memorial. Does anybody have any questions?
Mayor, has anybody seen anything, any of the rough plans that they have had on it besides you?
Well, no, we've had the plans out at all the meetings, but, well, we had the plans there the other day, but nobody wanted to see them, so we were really trying to stay away from the details out there the other day, just so they know
Well,
what
this
it
was
was.
just a rough plan that was given to me by William Neighbors when I brought up the site instead of the sites that they were looking at. And with what they've come up with, and I know this is just something that was done by Larry Massengill earlier, it looks real good, and it would really look great right there at the corner where we're talking, or where they're talking about putting it, that the property that the town owns.
What we really are trying to do tonight is for the board to give us the go-ahead to start working on a plan. That plan may change a little bit.
Oh, I'm
because of
sure
the
it will,
space.
but if anybody wants to look at it, it's gonna be left right here, and y'all can just take a look at it. It doesn't do any details. It's gonna be different from Dunn's, and it's gonna be different from Smithfield's, but it's gonna be something that the town could really be, I mean, that's gonna be the first thing anybody sees when they come over the bridge, and it's gonna be an ideal spot for it if, and they've got the money, and they're going to do a good job of whatever they do. So, if you
Now
want to
that-
get some kind of detail on it, right there it is.
That piece of land cost the town $175,000 at the time they bought it. It had a house on it which has been torn down. So probably the total cost they have in that piece of land is somewhere slightly south of $200,000. So there's been really no proposal from the Veterans Memorial Committee, but the thought is, and this is where I really need input from you, that the land would remain, Benson would remain the ownership of the land. And there would be an agreement between the Memorial Committee and the town on the operation, who would keep it up, and all those things would need to be done before we really nailed it down. But what we're looking for right now is the chance to go ahead and draw the plans and get what we want to put on it, and then bring that back for the details. So what is the feelings of the board?
Let me ask you one thing, what's the difference in this property and the Grove?
Oh,
We own it too.
yeah, there's a lot of difference in
Okay,
in the
I'm
two.
just saying, we own both pieces of
yes.
property. And the property was purchased to straighten the street out, and that was never done because we couldn't acquire the property behind it, from what I understand.
That's right.
How would the insurance work on that? Somebody, you know what I'm saying, somebody get hurt out there, is it all town?
owns the land,
I didn't know if we required them to have insurance as well, or,
require who, the committee or
Yeah.
that's like what the mayor's saying, that some of those details are gonna have to be ironed out.
Yeah.
It would depend on how it would work out, so I won't speak too much to it, but if you gave them some sort of a use agreement where they were to manage it, I think ultimately still, that real estate's owned by the town of Benson, and we'll have to, just like we are now currently as owner, include that in our facilities with our insurance coverage, and our insurance carrier needs to know that it's out there. Now, they may take responsibility for maintenance and indemnify us, but those are details we really don't know yet. If it's sitting on town property, though, we would still have
right,
at least basic general premises liability coverage as landowner in any event.
Well, let me ask you something, because I'm just listening to you. I thought from the way George was talking, there's gonna be flat markers out there. Is that the way you're understanding?
There's
Not a
gonna be-
statute?
There's gonna be no statues
Just
that
the
I know of.
markers?
It's gonna be the markers, and also the flags are gonna be represented. And it's not gonna be the small flags, it's gonna be, from what I understand, the big flags that will be lit up.
And there will also be a bench for each service,
Uh-huh.
for each flag.
But nobody has mentioned anything about any statues of any kind.
Any other questions? I would like to have the board to entertain a motion to allow the committee to move forward with putting together the plans, and when they get that put together, then come back to the board to get their blessing.
Jerry, who is the committee?
Uh,
Is it the American Legion Committee?
No. This
Okay.
is George Murphy, Keith Langdon, Jerry Tart, Ronald Tanner is the chairman, Betty Jo Young, Carolyn Tart, Kim Pickett, Maxine Holly, William Neighbors, and myself.
Okay.
So there's three, well, there's actually two people with votes on the board, and then two other people.
Okay.
So it's divided up kind of between the American Legion and the town. And
I'll make
we'll
a
have,
motion.
our next meeting will be the first Monday in May.
I make a motion, we, move forward with the, committees, doing the research and seeing where we're at with the property.
Any other comments, any other questions? All right, let's call the roll. William Neighbors. Dr. Rayner. Dean McClam.
aye.
Cassandra Stack. Maxine Holly. Will Chandler.
Aye.
The motion passes. Thank you so much. I'm now going to call on Dr. Max Rayner to cover the Alliance.
Okay. I've met with some members of the Alliance a few times, and we talked about the possibility of where will we go from here and that kind of thing. And as you know, as we talked before, I've had some things that I didn't agree with necessarily. And we really, I think our hope is to let them say what they see, what their vision is, and we kind of ask them questions, and then we see if there's the possibility that we could not join the alliance right now, but just further talk through the issues and see if we can come to an agreement, or if it's just too far. So you'll be very impressed if you don't know Reed. He's an impressive guy, and he's got 2 board members there that are 2 people that are as fine a people as I know. But Reed, you want to come up and give us a rundown?
And I'll, with your blessing, I'll turn it over if Harold and Mr. Massey want to speak or address the board as well. First of all, thank you, board, Mayor, for allowing us to come and attend tonight and speak about the Alliance. Before I get into really what the Alliance is, I do want to recognize both of our board members, Mr. Walter Massey of Dunn is here tonight, and then Mr. Harold Keene of Four Oaks, who is our board chairman. I think it's fair for the audience to explain what the Alliance is, what our mission is, and who we are and what we're doing. About 2.5 years ago, the mayors, the leadership of Four Oaks, Benson, and Dunn told each other, look, we've got to do something about economic development in our region and workforce development. The status quo is not the full potential of Benson and Four Oaks have done. And the better part of 2 years, the mayors and several council members and the managers were meeting and discussing what a regional organization, what a partnership might look like. And that came to fruition last year. We've been live about 6 months now, operating in both Four Oaks and Dunn. And we've got a wonderful board that represents the best of Dunn and Four Oaks. 8 voting members on our board, 4 appointees from each town, 1 public and 3 private appointees. And then we have some ex officio members, including the mayors and the managers as well. Our 3 strategic focus areas, we've said since the beginning, if we focus on these 3 areas, we'll be successful. And that's infrastructure, workforce development, and site preparedness. Identifying the sites to accommodate the projects, the workforce to employ the projects, and the infrastructure to support the projects. And so those are our 3 strategic focus areas. I can expand on those a little bit more. Workforce development I think is an important area for our region. You know, in my time in Four Oaks, before the Alliance, we've lost out on several projects because we didn't have an adequate workforce. And that's a common theme I hear across Harnett, Johnston, and other counties in eastern North Carolina. So some of the ways we're working to address that is forming strategic partnerships with our community colleges and local universities, as well as our partners in Raleigh state agencies and legislatures. We're particularly excited about where we're headed on these issues. We're looking at several workforce training facilities throughout the region that I think will benefit the people of Dunn, Four Oaks, and Benson as well, and beyond that. We're in the design and planning phase of those now. It's hard to speak to great detail on both of those, but we're excited, and we think that, you know, those will shore up our workforce development. You know, the Alliance is, I say it's not about big, pretty buildings next to the interstate. You know, it's about improving the quality of life of the people in the region through advanced training opportunities and good, high-paying quality jobs. And, you know, if we can keep people from going to RTP and work, if they have good career opportunities here at home, which when it makes our communities a more complete community, then that's a good day's work, I think. So that's pretty much all I have, unless the chairman would like to address the board, excuse me. And we'll be happy to entertain any questions you all may have. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I'm Harold Keene. I live right outside Four Oaks in the ETJ on the farm that I grew up on. My day job is with KS Bank based in Smithville. I've been president over there for the last 31.5 years and got smart, and first of the year kicked myself up to an executive vice chairman role. And gave somebody else the key to the door every day. But it's been my thing to get up every day to try to help the area that KS Bank is in, which is primarily Johnson County, but also Wake, Wayne, and Wilson counties, and try to make life better for the individuals who live and work there. And one of the things that's been obvious to me over these 30-some years is that people do better if they have quality jobs. Chris Johnson, our economic development person over for Johnson County, has been saying a lot lately that 54,000 people get up every day and drive outside the county of Johnston for their jobs. We got to create some quality jobs here so that, that people don't have to get up and drive to the Research Triangle Park every day or North Raleigh or wherever they go. And the other thing it's all about, my wife gives me a bad time because I always say it's all about the money. And I know that because I get up and go to a bank every day, that's not what I'm talking about. It's about having excess money that can allow us to do parks and rec the way we're supposed to and create the quality of life things. And the press is not going to lead off the headline and say that Mr. Keene said that homes don't pay their way. They do to some degree, but it's the quality commercial and industrial tax base that allows you to fund the quality of life things in your community. And so that has to be a major priority for us. If you look, Reed didn't get into it, but if you look at the household incomes in Smithfield, Four Oaks, Benson, Dunn, this I-95 corridor, they're below the state average. I mean, and why? Because we haven't attracted the quality of jobs to help lift that up. So I wasn't involved in the beginning of all this with the mayors and other discussions, but got involved as an appointee from Four Oaks. But it's obvious to me that working together, being able to employ somebody like Reed Williams, who wakes up every day to help find sites and work with companies to come here. He's been on board for 6 months now, and he's already close to having some success. So it's coming. The question is, do we do it correctly, and do we control it, and do we seek the quality of companies that we'd like to have in our communities? The three communities are close enough together. If one gets an industry, all three of them are going to benefit from it. People are going to live everywhere, as you know. They all live right next door to it. So, you know, we had a lot of conversations with the legislative folks in Raleigh about this concept, and they're really excited about it. A regional effort. I could use the alliance word, but that's not. But the regional effort is what they're looking for in today's world. And so we're going to be lots more successful in gaining the resources that it requires to support quality growth, and a lot more successful with companies if we're doing it as a region. And so, you know, as Reed said, if y'all want to go forward, then you need the three towns need to get together and work out the tax share and all those kinds of issues. That's above my pay grade. They didn't ask me to come on the alliance to deal with that. That was already done. But I'm extremely impressed with the individuals that were appointed from Four Oaks and from Dunn. Walter Massey is with us, and Walter is as you know, been so involved in the Dunn community, and as a Duke Energy executive, he understands where we're trying to go. And so we were so thrilled to have him on board. But great members who are not going to personally benefit from this at all, but they're kind of people who care about their communities and want to see this region go. So I believe it's all about a joint effort. I believe it's all about a joint effort. So my appeal to you tonight is, the foresight of putting it together was fantastic. We need to complete that now. Dunn and Four Oaks are in. We need you fine great folks over here in also. And then the other issues are going to work themselves out as we get down the road. How much money it costs to keep the Alliance office afloat, and those kind of sharing issues, they'll all work themselves out. If reasonable people are sitting around the table, and it may not be any of us in future years, it'll be somebody else. But it'll be quality people who care about the community. And if they're elected by the town councils of the three towns, which they will be, then they'll make the right decisions. And they'll do it with cooperation with the mayors and the commissioners in the towns. So I'm going to stop and say what kind of questions you have.
Well, we got a few people. You want to start with yours?
I'm trying to remember the whole conversation back then.
This is two.
I believe it was explained like before, say like if Four Oaks has got to put in money to get this place here, say they got to put in $1 million, then the other two towns it was shared in thirds to cover that cost. Say like they had to expand their water system, something like that, and had to spend $1 million, then each town had to put in a third to cover that $1 million. Wasn't that what it was discussed before when we were talking about it?
No, not in the superstructure part of it.
Yeah, the memorandum of understanding from the towns, I think, only dealt with the tax revenue that comes in. And there is some sharing in that. And again, that's going to have to be rediscussed between the towns.
The Alliance Board was gonna get whatever the percentage was for life.
Yeah, well, I think that's a misconception.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's been
the
said.
Alliance Board's
Oh,
Alliance Board's gonna get that until they don't need it, and then the towns are gonna say, we're not gonna send you any more money, you know. I mean, it doesn't matter to me whether there's a percentage there for the Alliance, or if we just ask you to put it in your budget every year. I mean, either way, the money, somebody's gotta fund Reed's job and the expense of marketing this area.
What's the current percentage as far as like if Four Oaks or Dunn gets, how's it broken up now between the Alliance and the other two towns, percentage wise?
Yeah.
So currently, it's 60-20-20, 60 to the host town, whichever town used Four Oaks, for example, if they landed a project, for the sake of numbers, it generated $100,000 in tax revenue, 60,000 would stay in Four Oaks, the Alliance would get 20% or 20,000, and right now Dunn would get 20%.
And that would be
But
every
when-
year?
I'm
Right.
sorry?
Would that be every year?
The way it's written right now, the current MOU is for a period of 7 years.
Okay.
After that, it phases out.
But again, I would hope we wouldn't have too much of discussion on that tonight, because that's gonna have to be renegotiated. You're adding.
Right, I was just asking what the
If
current.
y'all come on board, then a third player's in, and so the town boards are gonna have to discuss
Right.
that.
You know, I had questions like this. We sat down and we went through line by line, and they answered my questions. And they basically said what they're saying right now, which is, they can't really answer it. They can't write it in, scratch it down and it's done. It's just a process of, and that's what I hope we gain out of this tonight, is the ability to just sit down and talk it through. Because I don't think we can talk it through in 15 minutes here. I think we gotta sit down in the seat. And, you know, I keep telling them, I keep looking at that look in their face when I say, we might be too far apart. We might not ever work it out, but there's nothing wrong with trying and seeing if we can work it out, you know, and I kind of think we can, you know. The problems I've had with it, and I have had, you know, this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem. But my general thought about it is this: I know they're good people. I know most of the people on their board. I heard Mr. Masters on there. I thought, man, that's a great board. So the thing I believe is that we have to. One of the things I said is that the money that we would gain from the legislature chipping us in because of our regionalization, we might, if we're not careful, we'll spend it paying Ike and lawyers to battle it through our problems, and we don't want that. I want to make it where if we get in it at all, we've got the unexpected and unintended is handled is minimized.
And I think the thing I said to Dr. Rayner when I had a chance to talk to him recently, it's not set in stone. Mm-hmm. You know, it can be changed any year going forward. And if two of the towns don't want to change it and the third one does, they can just get out. You know, there is exit. This is not forever. And so I think, I hope it's forever in the sense I hope it's such a cooperative effort that it works forever. But my goal is to see it put together, and then I believe good people will make good decisions as it goes forward.
And I think I was not a part of it when it was put together. A lot of people were not, because I don't feel like it was ever put together the correct way. More people should have been brought into it. It is not an alliance, it's an economic development tool that has been changed due to Max and some others. In looking at, I saw once you're in, you're always in. Well, that's not the case. They have changed some of these readings and some of these things, and I think that's where Max is leading up to. I know what our senators and congressmen and these people that's got the money, I know what they're looking at. And yes, we can get a lot more of that money for our projects if we are in this alliance. But I don't know that we won't get the money either. The alliance, we've got to do the water and sewer project. The town of Benson has never had this kind of money or this kind of funds to accomplish anything. We can't come up and put in our budget $30–40 million to do it. We never could. Now, we've got this nest up here with golden eggs in it, and they're willing to give it to the people that have their stuff on paper and ready to do something. And the more that's involved, if we're going to help, and the way I see it, if we're going to help Dunn, if we're going to help Four Oaks with our water and sewer project, then they're more willing to give us $50 million instead of giving us $10 million here and $10 million there. But Four Oaks is looking at the same thing. Reed, what do you think in the last 6 months that it's actually cost Benson, if anything? I'm asking you a question, that any funds that you have received on any projects or any projects that y'all have got or got coming in, that y'all got monies or y'all got the property that we never had a chance at just because of the lights.
If I understand your question, you've not missed really out on any money from Raleigh, from the legislature yet. But it is fair to say that, you know, the Alliance, in partnership with Chris Johnson and the new Harnett County Economic Development Director, have entertained, I'm going to say 24 projects over the course of 6 months. And some of those are still active or pending. And I don't think it would be appropriate for me to comment in great detail, but it's probably, without you guys being in, you're obviously not considered for those location or for the locating of those projects. But I mean, those projects
Are you saying,
range
though,
from,
we're not considered when Chris Johnson is sitting on the county level?
I'm not saying that, no. But I'm
Okay.
saying, when they come to me and ask me for sites, Reed, do you have sites for this project? I say, sure. I got this one here in Four Oaks, or I got this one here in Dunn. Benson's not a part of the conversation. So in that way, I guess Benson has missed out. And those projects range from $20 million to $350 million.
Now who would be calling and asking you that? Would that be Chris Johnson?
It varies. Sometimes it's site selectors or industrial real estate people from Raleigh or Charlotte, and then sometimes it comes from the counties. A lot of the state projects come from the counties.
That was a big thing way back before all of this ever started, as far as this board sitting and having certified land projects. If we're certified, if that property is certified, that means we've got gas, we've got rail, we've got electricity, we've got water and sewer, and as I think that's what y'all are doing. Y'all are actually certifying properties in Harnett County and in Johnson County or around Four Oaks and around Dunn to make these things happen.
That's correct.
And even though we got property, y'all are pushing to get yours certified, and we hadn't done that in a good while, correct?
I can't speak to what Benson has done, but I know we're aggressively looking for sites. We don't wait for the phone to ring and ask for somebody, we need 35 acres.
Yeah.
We're looking projects. We're aggressively chasing projects. It's not sitting behind a desk and waiting for the phone to ring. But I will say, and I'm not knocking Chris at all, Chris has done a great job. Johnson County needs 4 or 5 Chris Johnsons. And I tell people all the time, it's not Reed Williams instead of Chris Johnson, it's Reed Williams in addition to Chris Johnson. And Chris and I have worked closely together in my previous role at Four Oaks, identifying sites and getting those sites certified. So he and I, when he gets projects and he thinks Four Oaks fits the bill, he reaches out to me and says, here's project so-and-so from the state, here's their criteria, which sites do you think fit that? Same thing with Christian and Harnett County.
Well, I really think in talking to Air Board and getting more familiar with the alliance, that, we look at things like Linwood Parker, mayor for 100 years, okay? Or he thought he was, okay? The property that y'all developed for the industrial park, that was not anything that was done overnight, and that's what I tell people. Linwood had the vision of 25 years down the road, and he went to these people, from what I understand, and said, look, if I can get so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so to sell their farm at this amount, if I put this together, will you sell yours? And that's what happened. And he did it before the alliance ever came. People like that, I commend Linwood, think the world of him, but Linwood is for Linwood, and he is for the town of Four Oaks. Same way with any mayor. I would hope that Jerry would be for Benson. If anything was coming in that area, I would hope that he would push real hard to y'all or anybody else that we need that worse than Four Oaks or worse than Dunn does. Now, is this what, with you sitting up here, you kind of head things up? Do you look for the right location, or do you look for the person that is going to help you the most?
Well, I want to answer that question. If the project, the agreement I have with both county directors, if Chris Johnson brings me a project, I'm not taking it to Dunn and showing it a site in Dunn, and vice versa. If Christian brings me a project in Harnett County, if I don't have a site in Dunn, I just say we don't have a site that fits it. I wouldn't take it to Four Oaks, or if Benson were a part of the equation, I wouldn't take something Christian brought me to Benson and say, So, it's part of building trust and working with each other, and you keep that channel of communication open. But, I think to answer your previous point, You know, I respectfully disagree that, you know, Linwood is just for Four Oaks. I mean, he's sold on this regional approach. He thinks if Google locates in Benson, it's certainly going to benefit Four Oaks. Or if it locates in Dunn, it's certainly going to benefit Four Oaks and Benson. So, you know, it's a different mindset. But I think he's completely sold, and everybody on our board is looking through that collaborative lens and looking at Four Oaks, Benson, and Dunn as one big community.
You know, Will, I say at the bank all the time, on those areas that really matter, somebody has to wake up every day with a passion to make that happen. And you talk about Mayor Parker's efforts when he was mayor to get the industrial park at Four Oaks. And he had a passion to do that. But the problem was he also had a day job. You know, he might have had a catering that night, or he had a restaurant to run and all those things. And to be successful in this, somebody's got to wake up every day with a passion to make it happen. I think we have that in Reed, and I think he'll do a fantastic job in dividing his time between the three cities. And again, I really want, I tried to get him to let me talk just a second right before that because I wanted to defend Chris Johnson. Chris does a great job for Johnson County, but Reed's right. Johnson County would have 4 Chris's right now. And I look at this alliance effort as a way of adding one down here.
Max, what would you like to do from here?
What I need, you know, is, see, we walked from the start, from the very, very start, when we opted out. Basically, it was we'll work all that out, we'll trust each other, and I believe in trusting each other, but that's not what works out with lawyers when that time comes. And so, I think we easily, the most common sense path, I think, is to agree to talk further and talk through it and see if we can come to what we agree on and they agree on, and come together if we can and say, okay, we tried if we can.
Mayor, what I'd like to hear you say tonight is that you believe we could be more successful together than we will be apart.
I'll say that. I believe we can be more successful together.
And then go sit down and see if this memorandum of understanding can't be worked out. Because that's really the next step. If you agree with that, if you say, yes, we should start down that road because we'll be better together, then you're going to have to appoint a couple of people to represent you and go sit down with the couple of people from Dunn and a couple of people from Four Oaks who can represent them. Unfortunately, I'd love to put you all in a room and say you can't leave till you work it out, but I guess the open meeting laws and stuff don't allow you to do that anymore. So whatever membership you can have to go sit down and talk with the town of Dunn and the town of Four Oaks, that would be the next step, and see if we can't get the memorandum of agreement at least where everybody's comfortable with it to go forward, knowing that it can be changed in the future. And you know, when we talk with Dr. Rayner, you know, if Reed has lots of success in the next 3 years and the money's flowing, the taxes are flowing, it'll be really easy, you know.
Well, I think our approach now should be to for the board to decide tonight whether we want to go ahead and start looking, just like you said, at the things that we don't like, and then get together down the road, if it looks like we can do that, to with Dunn and Four Oaks, and try to come up with a plan that we can get approved.
Well, it sounds like from the conversation that things have changed since we last heard about the allowance. So I think that we just need to hear what the changes of being there, because it's been a while, and I really didn't know this was going to come up again. So for me, if there is changes, I would definitely like to know what has changed and, you know exactly what's going on with the Alliance now.
Certainly, I would consider it, because this is one thing. I have a great deal of respect for Dr. Rayner. And I believe if he tells me something, I can trust him. I can't say a whole lot about some other people on this board, but he's one of them. So if Dr. Rayner feels good about us meeting, then I'm certainly in favor of it.
Well, I do feel good about it, and I feel good. I want to keep stressing the point. This is not signing on. This is not that at all. This is seeing if we can sign on, if we can work it out. If we can work it out, we'll come together as friends, and if we can't work it out, we'll part as friends.
I believe you.
Well, I think the legal process is just that. Legal process is for you to say, again, that you see the benefits of trying to work it out, and then try to do that. Because again, the memorandum of understanding is going to have to be changed, because there's just two parties now, and it would be three. And so those changes need to be negotiated in good faith, and see that, and then they would need to go back to each town board to be reapproved. But you need to come back here if you can agree, and to go to Dunn and Forks. They're going to have to approve them too.
Did your other guest want to come and say something?
Walter. Yeah, sure he does.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council for Benson. Thank you. My name is Walter Massey. For those of you that do not know me, Dr. Rayner is has been my physician for a number of years, and thanks to him, I am seeing tonight, because I would be blind otherwise. And that's the truth. I've had 16 eye operations. But my career was with, and I have back maybe in the late 90s, I sat where your council members are sitting on the Dunn City Council. So I understand your challenges, your wishes, and your desires for your community. But tonight, I think that Reed Williams and Harold did a super job of letting you know what we're trying to do. There is strength in our numbers. There's strength when we come together as an alliance. The three communities coming together to offer what we have. And the best thing we have, ladies and gentlemen, is the location, location, location. We're sitting at the crest of I-95, I-40, Highway 50. We know that the traffic is here. How many of you tried to get through town on a busy afternoon and see how challenging you are because of the commercial traffic? Once again, industry is looking for places. You're seeing what's happening in the other counties around North Carolina right now. I'm not saying that we're going to get a battery plant like in Randolph County, or an aerospace place like this over in Forsyth County, or I'm not sure exactly what happened in Rowan County, but there's a big plant that's coming over there that's going to offer 3,000 jobs. But we can do something for our people, and as Reed and Harold has explained, keep our people at home, keep our tax base here, and enhance our growth here, and improve the quality of life for our citizens. And that's all that we're asking, is to please consider what we're trying to do as three communities that are connected. Let's face it, we're connected. And we need to stay connected in this effort to sell ourselves as a viable opportunity for industry to come in and help us with what they have, and for us to help us with what we have, which is our location and our very fine people. And we know that we've got good people, and we want to keep them here. Thank you for your time tonight. Thank you for hearing me. I hope you get excited about it as I am, because I think it's a golden opportunity for our communities. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks a lot, guys. And you want anything else?
Is it time to make a motion?
Huh?
Is it okay to make a motion?
Yeah.
I make a motion that we proceed in talking to see that, you might help me word this, but we're getting together and talking to see if we can find agreement and figure out the way that we'd be able to join the alliance if everybody agrees.
Did you hear the motion, William?
I did.
Any other points? Any other questions?
So we're just gonna talk this thing out. We're not doing anything. Is there gonna be any tax money that will be involved in these talks?
You're gonna talk about money at some point, I'm sure, but
I'm talking about attorney fees right now.
No, you're not, with.
Last time we got stuck with attorney fees.
Talking about Commissioner Rayner's motion, you're just,
Talking.
you're talking with the alliance about what it might look like for Benson to come in, you're not obligating yourself to anything.
Okay.
Just for your information, I'm a shade tree lawyer.
I'm good with this talking.
All right, all in favor say, William Neighbors.
Is there a possibility that we can get a copy of the current MOU?
Did you hear that? Is there a possibility we can get a current copy of the MOU?
Sure.
Sure.
I'm in favor of talking.
Dr. Rayner.
Aye.
Dean.
Aye.
Cassandra.
Aye.
Maxine.
Aye.
Will.
Aye.
Okay. Thanks a lot, guys, for coming and participating. Next thing is Kimberly Pickett on the town manager search.
So at the last board meeting, I gave you all two proposals. One was from the Triangle Council of Governments for $11,400. The other one was from Robert Slavin from Slavin Management Consultants. He was recommended to us by Harnett County, and that one would not exceed $24,149. So I would like to know if the board, if y'all have any preference, what y'all would like to do as far as the next steps in the manager search. If you choose one of these, I'll get in touch with them tomorrow and get the contract drawn up and have it at the next board meeting.
Kim,
you have another
gone through
suggestion.
the league of municipalities before. They don't offer anything now, or would Triangle J fall under that?
I didn't actually check with the league. I went straight to Elena at the Council of Governments because I know that's one that I've seen do manager search quite often. So, sure. Do you know if they do?
Selma used them on their last one.
The league?
Yeah.
I mean, I can
Well,
go
no,
back and
used,
check.
Oh,
Triangle J. Oh, yeah.
Well, out of the two, the town manager search from Salvin Management, a lot of their stuff in here, the majority of it, has nothing to do with Benson. I'm seeing big cities. There are more big cities, and everything that I read that I came up with, they're always pulling from out of state, and I'm not interested in them. That's my personal opinion.
Okay.
I'd like to stay local. As far as Triangle J, I would reach out and touch League of Municipalities and see what they offer.
I can do that and have it at the next meeting.
And I'm sorry I didn't mention that before, because I meant to call you on it when I was gone, because I went through some old stuff I had, and that's what some of the stuff that we had gone through.
That's fine.
So
That's fine.
I know it, but I don't want to drag this thing out no longer than we need to, and every time you show up with this, somebody like myself comes up, well, how about checking with so-and-so, and that just puts it off another month. So,
I did ask for copies of it, and honestly speaking, I do like their process, but I don't like the fact how they pull, I guess, candidates from.
Slavin.
Right. Yeah. I definitely like their process.
In talking with them, they're much like a headhunter.
Right,
that's
and
what
I'm
I'm
gonna
about to say
tell you
right
why,
here.
because the process that they follow is very familiar to me. We do the same thing for UNC, and that is exactly how you find good talent. But I do agree with Commissioner Chandler, just the fact of reaching outside of state. I don't like that part. So if we could get some, maybe some information from the league, then that would be helpful.
Okay.
But now, as far as their process, I do like it. I just
It's
don't-
very thorough.
Yeah.
But I think the COGS is very thorough as well. But yeah. But I'll definitely check with the league, and I can email you all, once I get the proposal, and then we can have it at the next, hopefully at the next council meeting in 2 weeks.
Does everybody agree with that?
Yes, I do.
Kim, on project statement updates.
So this is just informational at the retreat. You all had asked for our projects that we have. So this is typically found in the back of the audit. So we went through, Angie and I, and pulled all the projects that we have in place. We do these statements for the audit every year, so I just went ahead and updated the statements for, as of March 31st. So this is just informational. You guys have them. If you have any questions, feel free to call me. We can talk about it. But these are, when we come up to you guys and do project ordinances, this is what this is. So this is outside of your operating budget.
Does anybody have any questions of Kim?
I might have some later. I don't have any right now.
Okay. Feel free to give me a call. I'll talk to you. I'd be happy to meet with anybody and go over it. And Angie too, since she's learning.
Consider the application for DEQ for, grant funding.
So I got a phone call a couple weeks ago. There was a VW settlement, so DEQ is holding some money right now for charging stations. And this company, they are ChargePoint. They reached out and they had already done an assessment of Benson because of where we are located at 95 and 40. And they feel like we are good candidates for applying for a grant with DEQ for 2 charging stations. And they had actually pulled up, if you see on the screen, Benton Square was their first choice. We discussed charging stations at the library, but that was kind of nixed because of the diagonal parking. If you have to back into the station, that's not a very good way to do it. We talked about Town Hall. They felt like that was too far away from Main Street for people coming off the highway. They really want you to be in the core of your downtown, so they can get out and charge and they can go eat or go shop or do something on Main Street. So Benton Square was kind of the option. You see where they've X'd out on this smaller picture. They would have to take 3 parking spaces to make 2 charging stations. There's an estimated cost there. It was a very quick estimate of $200,000. They're sure we're guaranteed $150,000 of the grant, and that, like I said, it was a very estimated cost of what it would actually cost because they didn't take into account that we own our own electricity. So obviously that would not play into this because that would come out. We would do that ourselves. So what I'm asking is, can we move forward with at least working on the grant process and get the grant turned into DEQ? It's due the 1st of May, and he's pretty, I know you're, did you do this?
Yeah, it's going to go about that.
Okay. So, like I said, he thinks it would probably be closer to the $150,000 mark, and he feels very confident that we would get approved at the $150,000 mark. We wouldn't get any more than that. DEQ does not want to go into a third funding round. They want to finish out with this funding round. That's why he feels so confident in us getting it. So just asking for the board to give me permission to proceed with at least getting the grant written with this company from ChargePoint and getting it turned into DEQ.
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody pulling this to charge their vehicle, I'm assuming this is a quick charge station.
It is a quick charge.
So they're not paying for the power, correct?
Well, I asked that question, and we as a town can charge them to use that power station.
Because I know towns and other places out west, they're getting hit because the electric side is coming at peak hour time, and it's ramping up their power.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's one thing. I wanted to make sure that it would be a charge.
Yeah, we could. The board could do that in the fee schedule. He said guidance today would be equitable pricing policy based on energy consumed somewhere between 30 to 43 cents per kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
That's what he's suggesting right now.
So what do you do, put a parking meter?
I would assume that station would have a built-in parking meter where you, kind of like a card like you would see in Raleigh. Yeah.
That 43 cents per kilowatt hour, I don't really understand that. How much would it be, how much would the ballpark charge be for a charge?
Right now, the report
It's a
I've
30-minute
read-
charge.
The report I've read is that somebody's having to pay for the, and it all depends on, I can't remember how much it was a kilowatt hour, but they said it was pushing right there, the same equivalent, maybe a little bit cheaper than gas, a gallon.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I was just making sure the town won't setting it up there for free power or whatever, because that can get
We don't-
really expensive.
Yeah, we don't have to, no.
Yeah.
How about over at the hotels?
The hotel actually has they have 2 charging stations that they got an electricity grant with when they first came, and then they are in the process right now working with Tesla to add how many more?
I've been working on with the easement, I don't know how many actual lots.
8.
Is it 8?
8 there, so they're gonna have 8 Tesla stations. They'll be dedicated to the hotel, and then we would do something separate. It wouldn't be necessarily Tesla. It would just be for anything, because the Tesla stations are only for Tesla, right?
I don't think so.
Are they for everybody?
Mhm.
Okay. I'm new to this whole charging station thing, but yeah. So they have some already.
I think the Tesla, the charging station, it's just the name brand of it and everything. It's basically like getting solar panels. You got Tesla batteries. You pay, it's a premium, battery. You're obviously gonna pay more for that battery, than you would other ones. But,
Yeah.
But the hotels are doing those.
yeah.
We're gonna be doing, the town is talking about doing 2
Mhm.
with a grant to supplement.
Mhm. Through
And it
DEQ.
shouldn't go, say you get the grant money of 150,000, that's per unit or total?
That would be the total.
Total, and they do not think it would go over that.
They don't. And what we could do is, obviously we could go through with trying to get the grant. This has to come before the board to approve the grant. You
Now,
could
in
not
looking
approve
at
it.
this, and looking at this, and looking at the new roundabout that's gonna start July the 5th,
Mhm.
are you looking at anything that they would do that couldn't happen?
You should not lose any parking in Benton Square. You're going to lose street parking, but you should not lose anything in Benton Square as far as the roundabout is concerned.
Okay, I'm talking about utilities. There's gonna be utilities moved.
Yeah, but that pole is already further back, so I think you'll be okay. Because
Okay.
all that's been done for
And that's gonna be underground anyway.
the roundabout, right.
And in doing it underground, does the grant pick up the cost of the parking lot? Or as far as repaving or anything, or is that part of ours?
I would assume that would all be built into the grant, the striping and stuff.
Okay.
hmm
Yeah, I would say go for it. Go with I make a motion that I give you permission to go ahead with the grant.
Okay.
With the application of the grant.
Okay.
Any other questions? All in favor, William Neighbors. Dr. Rayner. Dean McClam.
Aye.
Cassandra Stack. Maxine Holly. Will Chandler.
Aye.
Motion passed. Okay, Kimberly on approval moving forward with alley closing between Harnett and Parish Drive.
So on March 25th, we received a formal request to close the alley between West Harnett Street and to Parish Drive. So it's what I've highlighted or circled in black for y'all up here. Currently, it is not maintained by the town. We would have to get an easement because there is a storm drain that runs through that alley. But the first step, he had talked to Ike and he had talked to me, and the first step in this process was to a formal request to the town manager. So I got that on March the 25th. It is quite a lengthy process, so we wanted to know if the board wanted to follow through with this. We would first have to adopt a resolution declaring the intent to close the street or alley and have a public hearing. That public hearing would have to be published once a week for 4 consecutive weeks for the hearing, in which part we would have to send certified mail to all the property owners in the adjoining property of the alley to let them know, and it needs to be posted in 2 places along the street or the alley. So we would have to post it on either side, I would assume, to let people know in the surrounding area that we were looking at closing this alley. And if y'all have any technical questions, Ike will be able to help y'all, but we just need, consent from the board that we can proceed with the process, because like I said, it is very lengthy.
Before you, one point of clarification, what we would do is, since we have utility lines in that area now already, which is area that we have an alleyway in, we don't need it even at the moment, we've got an alleyway there, although we don't really maintain it like an alley. That was set up by, I think, 1931 W.J. Lambert map. There's a lot of alleys like that that are sort of questionable status. That one is still considered public. But if the board saw fit to proceed with it, had the public hearing, then voted to close the alley, that closure would contain a stipulation that we retain the right for a utility easement in there. So it's not say we'd have to go back and then get them to agree to anything. We would close it contingent on retaining a utility easement for the line that's in there and anything else we may need to put. And that would be, I would presume, a minimum of 10 feet, but whatever we needed. I think it's 20.
That's been a problem for years and years. We would be glad to get rid of it because evidently there's a big drain right in the middle of this. And I know the Johnsons had to, every time it rained, they had to get down with a pump and pump the basement out.
Well, I think we would still be responsible,
We'd still have to.
because we're gonna get a utility easement through there, because that storm drain.
Maintain our storm drain, which I think is what you're talking about.
Yeah. So we won't relinquish that, we'll keep it.
Well, what is the purpose or disadvantage or advantage of keeping it open? What's the disadvantage?
The disadvantage of keeping it open? It's a right of way. You're not obligated to go in there and open it and pave it and make it a alley like you have behind some parcels on Main Street. There's Farmer Drive. There's not a lot of alleys in town. If you look at the old maps, there's a ton everywhere. There's really no necessity for them as time years have gone by. We've got lines running through there, and the alley facilitated that, so that was a benefit, but I can't tell you there's really any benefit in keeping it open. Someone could come and ask you to pave it. Of course, you just say, no, we're not going to pave it. You're not obligated to pave it. The benefit is that if you ever wanted to and make that for some reason that was deemed to be necessity to have it opened up, you could go in there and do that. You wouldn't have to have anybody's permission. You wouldn't have to go obtain any easements or land or anything from any property owner. You've got the right to do it. Once you close it, that's over with. It's a little bit of a different situation than if you were closing it outright because of this utility line we have in it. Typically, you close a street or an alley, and the property owners on either side of it, upon the formal closure and recording of that ordinance to close the alley, the property owners adjacent own out to the middle of the alley or street, right? So you think about any street, the street you live on, if it's got a yellow line run down the middle or wherever that would be, if it doesn't, you think of the middle of the road, and then your neighbor across the street from you, middle of the road, you close the alley and you both now touch, right? You've got a property line that now touches where there was a street. This would theoretically do that too, but it would be subject to the town's easement. The town would not have the same maintenance responsibilities of an easement as it would an alley, so I guess there would be some benefit in that, but you wouldn't be able to just wash your hands of it and say, that's y'all's problem now, because we will still have to maintain our easement. At the moment, it's just a storm drain, stormwater line.
I would say, which I know we're doing a study now to tell us where all the water lines and everything is, but I do know we had an alleyway that we didn't know we had a water line going down until they were doing a water project and they found it. And they found it, they actually hid it. and it won't show 'em. So it might be a thing that, because we're showing as an alleyway, you might want to take one of the guys out there with the ground penetrating radar and just scan the area to make sure there ain't no water line that goes across.
I can have Ray look. I did ask Ray. Ray said the only thing that he had on his maps was the storm drain. That's how we found out about it.
Yeah, well, I know, like, right there beside where my dad and them lives at, there is a water main that goes down the alleyway right there, and the town didn't even know nothing about
Okay,
it.
we can get him to check it tomorrow.
Yeah.
What is the person's goal in doing this?
He gains 10 more feet of his property. Aaron and I had a lengthy conversation with him a couple weeks ago. I mean, he's looking at putting 2 houses out there, potentially a duplex.
Well, he does realize that with
He
that
does.
right of way, he can't put nothing on top of it.
Yeah, we had that discussion,
Okay.
yes.
But it gives him a little more.
But it gives him a little
right
more
now, he
space.
can't
Yeah, I
put
give him,
anything on it,
get
and then
the
he-
setbacks and everything.
Yeah, his setbacks still relaxed a little bit. He could kind of, get closer to that line. In terms
Yeah.
of if he's trying to set 2 properties and have like a driveway come on the side or something, you got a little more leeway. That's the benefit to him and the town. As long as we have that easement, then we retain what we need.
Yeah.
And I would say a full utility easement, so if later on, 10, 20, 50 years from now, with different people doing these jobs, someone says we really need to put a water line in that area, or where there isn't water, there needs to be some sort of sewer or whatever. It wouldn't just be a storm drainage
Right.
easement, it would be a full utility easement. We could put whatever we wanted down there, electricity, cable, internet, whatever.
And I will say the property on West Parish Drive, I drove by there, they're already parking and, I mean, they're treating it as if it's their property anyway, on the other side.
Well, how are you
Which-
going to divide it up? Give
Split it down the middle.
Give 4 of them something?
Everybody's goes to the middle of where the alley was, so the alley was 20 feet wide, everybody gets 10 feet that's along it. Would get 10 more feet, all the way, the length of their property line.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like, if I heard what y'all just said, we've got control of it now. If we go away with the alley, then we go through this lengthy process. We have to draw up an easement to maintain control of the utility. What is the cost to the town for us to go through this process and to build that easement? And is there a way for us to charge the people that are benefiting from us closing the alley the amount that it's going to cost the town for us to close it?
Well, let me start with the last question first. I don't know of a statutory mechanism to bill them for it. I agree that there is a benefit potentially to property owners. Of course, you might get one that's dead set against it because they would really rather it stay open and hope the town would open it up and pave it one day and would ask you not to do it. The town might still approve it. So it's a little nebulous to say that, well, y'all are going to get some benefit. The person who's asked you to do it, and again, it's 100% up to the board whether you do it or not. The person that's asked you to do it is we can perceive a benefit of, but I cannot think of a mechanism to bill them for it. I can give you a really rough estimate is what I think it's going to cost. Remember, and again, just to clarify, I'm not going to draft an easement. All you're going to do, I'll work with Angie. I would say maybe an hour or so's time working out the public notice that's going to run in the paper. If the board votes to approve it, there'll be an order. It's a couple-page document that will probably take another, let's say, couple hours of my time working with her. Angie, your salary, right? I mean, again, just to really nitpick the fine detail of what it really costs, a few hours of her time, and about, say, 3 of mine, I bill at $125 an hour, so you're probably talking about less than $400 or $500, or in the neighborhood of $400 or $500. Look, that is incredibly just an estimate, right? But if you ask what would it cost, and then y'all's time and sitting here considering it, and then what it would cost to run in the paper. So, let's say somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 to $1,000, and that's every single thing you'd spend, if that answers your question.
Let's just not make it as much as February was.
That was,
We got Aaron back.
yeah, as long as Aaron's back, I'm not going to happen again.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to do whatever you want to do.
I make a motion that we table and get more information when you bring your sum, your salary and everything back and what we need to do.
Well, that's it. I mean, I couldn't get much more pinpointed than that, I don't see what more would cost. It would, like I said, I can have what I need to draft in about 2 to 3 hours. So you're talking about $250 to $375 for me. You got your clerk that's gonna have to work on things. I don't know what, you tell me what it costs to run a notice in the paper.
Huh.
Yeah, Mike's here.
Probably.
Yeah, I can't tell how many words it's gonna be, but, probably a mid-sized legal ad. I can get you more firm numbers. There's still gonna
Could
be.
you do that, please?
There's still gonna be estimates, but.
That'll be fine, but
it'll be
just let me have them.
Probably 500 to 1,000.
That'll be fine. Can we table it to our next meeting?
Currently on the West Harnett Street side, it was brush. He's cleaned a lot of that out. The Parish Street side is grass, and the property owner on the left-hand side is cutting it, maintaining it. I mean, they're parking on it and everything else.
There's a motion to table it. All in favor, say William Neighbors. Dr. Rayner. Dean McLaren. Cassandra Stack. Maxine Hawley. Will Chandler. All right, pass.
I do got one more question though.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't there laws in place where somebody's maintaining a property, they could turn around and take us to court for it?
If somebody's maintaining a property, they can take us to court for what?
Try to get that property.
You talking about?
Gotta keep it up for 9 years.
Yeah, I mean, if they've been maintaining it, we ain't been, and
Yeah, that's a law. You know, if they've been maintaining it, depending on how if they had color of title, which is to say that their deed said they own it, they really didn't, but it looked like they did, and we were just letting them, let's say we let somebody put a fence around that alleyway and 20 years goes by and we don't say a word about it, they'd have to file a suit in Superior Court or, you know, successfully argue the facts of their case under that law, and I won't get completely off into this, everybody wants me to, but I'm not Dutch to.
no, it's
Because
just,
they'd have to prove that basically that we were just sitting by and letting them use this property like a typical owner would. Judge would have to agree with them, order that, then that would be recorded, and then we wouldn't own it anymore. And that, in any property owner, town, anything, a little bit different rules when it comes to rights of way though, and I don't think anybody's gonna argue with that because it's just sort of open area right now, and GIS is showing it as an open alleyway.
It's been put on the agenda for next time.
I'll get firmer numbers for the board next meeting.
Consider approval of economic development toolbox. Tyler Douglas.
All right. This is for Paul Boucher, who's with us tonight. In his building, he's been doing a lot of work in that building. It's really cool. It's coming along really well. And because of all that work and all the businesses that are going into that building, he applies for or qualifies for a lot of incentive grants that we have as a town. So I'll go through those briefly. He's got the marketing assistance grant for signage. That's it's a larger grant, but he wants the signage part of it. So that's $350 times 2 for Small World Travel and Rivermark Homes. So that's $700 total for that particular thing. The residential incentive grant. This is because he's doing second floor residential. There's going to be 2 apartments on the second floor of the building there, and it's really cool. There's a lot of work going into that, and that is a 1-to-1 matching grant up to $2,500, which he is well over. So he'll get that one as well for the upfit of a second floor residential. And that's just kind of to give you an idea of all the work on the second floor. It's divided by a firewall there, and it's business. I think it says like meeting rooms and things on that one side, and then the top view to you would be the 2 apartments. Okay, and then the facade improvement grant, this is the biggie. This is usually what I end up giving to people on Main, but he's got 4 businesses coming in here. So he's going to have one for the Lofts on Main entrance, one for Rivermark Homes, one for Small World Travel, and then one for Edward Jones. And those are all 1-to-1 matching grants for $1,500 apiece, so times 4, that's $6,000. And to give you an idea of the actual facades and where they'll be, it'll look something like that. So the Rivermark Homes is on the Market Street side, but the rest of them there are on the Main Street side. And moving on, pretty much, it's just a couple notes. Just all these incentive grants are budgeted every year, and they have been since 2009. It's a packet we put together essentially to encourage this exact thing. So Paul's doing the right thing here. This is exactly what we want to see. This is exactly what we want this money to go to. Like I said earlier, he has multiple businesses in that building, so that's why he qualifies for multiple incentive grants. Residential incentive grant is per building, not per unit, so that's why he doesn't get 5,000. It's just for the upkeep of the actual building, so that's 2,500. And he's got all the necessary receipts, invoices, and renders, and that's all in your packet. And then the total funds altogether for this thing is 9,200, and we do recommend approval. I've talked it over with Kim, and we discussed everything, and yeah, so we do recommend approval. And if you have any questions, Paul is here, so he can answer any detailed things about it, but that's pretty much it. So.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I think he's done a great job. I know he spent a lot more money than he ever thought he was going to. There was an elevator in there that had to be taken out.
Yeah.
There was so much damage in there, and he's replaced so much. I think you've done a great job, Paul. I just want to know one thing. On these grants,
Yeah.
if any part of these grants, if we approve all the grants and any part of the grants doesn't happen, what happens to that?
Well, it goes through our finance department. So what do you mean doesn't happen? Like say he doesn't do a facade or something like that?
He gets ready and Edward Jones is coming in, and for any reason Edward Jones decides not to.
Okay, these are after the fact, so he has to provide invoices,
Right.
things like that. So if they don't come in, then they never get paid. Like it's a matching grant in the sense of the work is already done, then we pay you.
Right.
So if they don't come in, then that portion of the
That's
grant
his
doesn't
loss,
happen.
really.
Essentially, yeah.
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 I have a personal question, which I won't make it long, but it's because of my Clinton office. Do you have to have a firewall in the floor?
I did.
How do you do that?
So because of the way the structure is split up, there's a number of different firewalls in there. Downstairs on the I refer to it as the Market Street side is the outside building, and the Edward Jones building is being the inside building. Both of those are like kind space, so they're both business occupancy. So they technically don't have to have a firewall between them. And actually on the outside building, it doesn't have to have a firewall between the upstairs and the downstairs because that's all business space. But on the inside building, there has to be a 2-hour firewall rating because it's going from a B1 to residential. That space has to be upgraded from a 2-hour to a 4-hour depending on the type of business. So just in some of the conversation I've had with some of the business owners downtown, if they've got a restaurant in there, they go to a 4-hour fire rating. But the 2-hour fire rating wall that I have is a particular type of sheetrock. That's a fire rated X sheetrock that you purchase. Then it comes with a channel that goes in between. I've got $18,000 in the plans that were designed by an engineer. Princess Tyndall designed some of it, and Gallucci out of Clayton designed the rest of it. But at any rate, there's a Brazilian channel that goes between the 2 layers of firewall. And it's got a bunch of little holes in it. It's designed that if there were to be a fire in one spot, it actually diffuses over the rated area, and so it, instead of all the heat going into one area, it lessens it, which hence gives it the rated system. And the idea is that first layer of firewall or first layer of sheetrock still falls off, but the remaining layer of sheetrock is still there. And then above that is 1 inch of nominal material, which has got to be some sort of hardwood product. The actual floor joists, which are 2x10s, and that whole cavity has to be blown full with some sort of product that
diminishes air. So basically, you got to put a wool insulation or something in there instead of it being an air cavity. And then you've got to have 1-inch nominal product on top of it, which is your floors. So the residential apartments, which they're already, all the walls are up, all the wires pulled, all the heating and air's in up there. The residential apartments will still keep the natural floors upstairs, but but everything from, it's literally about a foot thick of material for the 2-hour firewall. Now between the commercial, where the residential side is upstairs and the business side upstairs, that's a 4-hour firewall, which is basically a foot thick of brick or blocking brick. And then between the 2 units upstairs, there's a 1-hour firewall, which basically goes all the way to the roof deck, which is 5/8 inch Brazilian or 5/8 inch sheetrock on either side with the channel. And then there's 1.5-hour firewall in there that goes between the corridor for the hallway for the 2 units. So essentially, the building's got 4-hour firewalls, 2-hour fire ceilings, 1.5-hour firewall, and a 1-hour firewall. A whole bunch of sheetrock.
Cool. Switch you up there. Another question. When I've been intrigued by when Matt was talking about doing this, been intrigued by it. Where do people park?
Worked with the town some on trying to figure that out. And the only thing about the downtown properties is that they got 0 lot lines. So there's really not any way to be able to do an on-site parking. It's, it's maybe one thing that we need to consider, because technically there's some signs in the downtown area that say that there's no parking from, I think, 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning. So we might need to bring that up in a future time. But there are a couple of town parking lots that are within a block of the building. The other thing is the corridor that I've designed for the actual apartments. Tyler did a great job of setting all that stuff up. There's one thing, the corridor where the 2 apartments are is all the way on the alley side. And that corridor is actually large enough that the 2 upstairs tenants have the ability to put a bicycle in there, or I may look at utilizing a bicycle post outside or something. It is a different type of living, and we're not really accustomed to it in downtown Benson like some other communities have been, but it is the type of thing where people tend to, I would only assume that the type of person that would like that living is going to be a younger person that's going to be relatively healthy and is thinking, I can walk to the Grove, or I can walk to Faint and Goat, or I can walk down to the Cuban restaurant or Cornerstone to grab something to eat.
Max, the town manager over in Dunn, lives up above 2 blocks away from City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be a lady Korean lady that sold wigs and stuff. They turned those into apartments. Now, he does have some parking, but he walks to work every single day just 2 blocks down to the town hall. Steve Newshafer, that was here for a while. I mentioned it to Paul at one time. It may be that we need to look at Market Street coming up. If you parallel the parking spaces, you pick up like 2 more parking spaces right in that area. If it's wide enough to do that. You got a fire hydrant right there that's going to take one of them up though. I don't know. He's been trying to do his homework, trying to buy what property he needed to make it happen. That was the biggest problem that I saw, residential upstairs. Not the way he was doing it, but just the parking.
I guess to make the parking issue, not for this particular thing, but for in general, I guess one option, I'm not saying I'm for this, is to make the streets one-way streets this way and that way, and that would give you enough space to put slat parking in on both sides. I would assume, I'm just,
Well, between one-way streets and, 4 stop signs on every, corner, I don't know if we can do all of it. Roundabout.
we do have to address the issue of parking at some point.
Yeah.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion to approve.
Any other questions? All in favor, William Neighbors? Dr. Rayner?
Are you saying we're in favor of William Neighbors?
I hope not.
Okay, I'll go, I on both counts.
William Neighbors on the.
Yeah, I know, I just said.
Dean McClam.
Aye.
Conflict.
Cassandra Stack.
Aye.
Maxine Holly.
Aye.
Will Chandler.
Aye.
All right, thanks, Tyler. You did a great job, Paul.
No, thank you. And one last thing, all of the departments within the town have been great to work with too, because in the midst of all this, we've done a lot of cleaning up of the back alley, have taken on a lot of stuff, and they've really helped out a lot. And even the communication, I mean, they're not a town department, but even getting one of the communications companies to come in for Edward Jones, and I had made comments to them that the town wanted they're really trying to make an effort to clean up these alleys, and they were wanting to bring in all their stuff overhead, and they were willing to bring in all their stuff below ground too, so that it could keep it cleaned up. But everybody's been great to work with. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, Angie, consider approval of financials.
Okay, I got December, January, and February. Did you wanna do like to approve each one individually or all three? You don't care? All three together? Okay. So the month of December, we were at 50.78% revenues and 59.23 in expenses. January, we were at 61.10% revenues and 68.4% in expenses. And then on the February one, there's a correction. It's supposed to be 72.08% in revenues and then 73.95% in expenditures. And next month, we will bring a cleanup budget amendment to, because some of these accounts are over, so that we can get it all cleaned up.
Ain't got much room left. Any questions of Ms. Thornton?
I make a motion that we approve.
Any other questions? All in favor say aye. William Neighbors. Dr. Rayner. Dean McClam. Sandra Stack. Maxine Holly. Will Chandler.
Aye.
That's approved. Consider approval of CDBG with I amended project ordinance.
Okay, as you recall, at the last meeting, you approved the CDBGI infrastructure construction grant in the amount of $1.9 million, and all this is doing is just amending the project ordinance to add the $1.9 million in the project fund. So I just need to get it.
I'll entertain a motion
I
to
make a
approve.
motion we approve.
Huh?
I make a motion we amend it as presented.
All in favor say aye. William Neighbors. Dr. Rayner.
Aye.
Dean McClam.
Aye.
Cassandra
Aye.
Stack. Maxine Holly.
Aye.
Will Chandler.
Aye.
That approved. All right, town manager's report.
It has come to our attention that we need to add a board member to the library board. Jim Johnson was serving on that board, and he is not on the town council anymore, so we would like to ask if there's a volunteer that would like to serve on the library board in place of Jim Johnson.
I'm on the police one now.
I'll entertain a motion.
Just another meeting, isn't it?
I think they meet once a quarter, possibly.
I know,
Yeah,
I'm already on one.
they meet quarterly.
Who's not
They
on
meet
one?
quarterly.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on a live board. I think my time,
Huh?
You can already know. You can already know.
So William just said he could do it.
Hmm?
He could do it quarterly if we wanted him to do it. So are y'all okay with that?
You need a
Yeah.
motion?
All right.
You need a motion, I make a motion, William can have it.
All right, William Neighbors,
It's affecting him.
Dr. Rayner,
Him?
Dean McClam, Cassandra Stack, Maxine Holly, Will Chandler.
Further, on May the 5th, I put a flyer out on your desk. May the 5th is the mayor's breakfast at Benson Baptist Church at 7:30. The program starts at 8, and they have a special speaker, Alvin Battle. The photo for the singing convention book, we're going to take tomorrow night at Ken Tart's office at 6 o'clock. We're going to try to Photoshop William Neighbors because he can't be there. So that's tomorrow at 6. And then at the last board meeting, we discussed, there was a conversation about a potential of a second board retreat, just a one-day board retreat. Department heads got together, and we are proposing April 30th or May 14th, if that would work in anybody's schedules, or everybody's schedules. It's Saturday.
Monday, the 18th, what would you say, the 14th?
May the 14th or April 30th.
That won't work for me.
Okay.
14th.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know, I mean, everybody else, but that's fine.
April 30th?
April 30th.
No, it's not working for me.
Neither day or just April 30th?
Neither day.
Ron Raven's birthday party on one day, and I'm gone the
We might have to go further out. We can go back and look. We don't want to get too far, into May with budget, because it would be a budget discussion. Or if y'all, if you don't want to have it, but this was what came up in the last meeting, so.
So you talking about May the 14th to do a budget?
Well, to have a second board retreat, we would talk about the vision of the town, and then talk about what's coming up in the next budget, and have some in-depth discussion that we can just have an open discussion about.
Does everybody agree with that?
I won't be available 14th and April 30th, so I don't know what everybody else I'm telling about now.
I'll be in D.C. on April 30th. On the 14th, I'm going to Senator Reagan's birthday party, but I'm sure that's 5 or 6 o'clock, so I can still probably come in the daytime.
So you want to try for that?
We can try the 14th.
Or some other date?
You won't be there. Or what about the 21st?
Huh?
What about the 21st of May?
How does that fit you? Maxine?
That probably would work better for me.
What about everybody else, 21st?
You good?
Honey, I'm good with any of it.
May 21st, let's see here.
21st will be my preference, but I can make any of them work.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can do the 21st,
Okay.
I think.
So we're looking May 21st?
May 21st? It will likely be at the fire. I'll have to check with Alan to make sure. If it's not, it will likely be at the fire department. We'll check the calendar. We'll let you know, but we'll definitely set that date. If we can't have it there, we'll have it somewhere else.
Just Saturday night?
Just Saturday.
Saturday during the day?
During the day, yep. Further, the town will be closed on Friday for Good Friday. We hope you all have a very happy Easter with your families. And I want to go ahead and make a note that we are going to have to make a change to the calendar for 4th of July. It will not be able to be on 4th of July. We could not get the proper people to get fireworks done, so it will be on July the 2nd. So make sure you mark that, and that is a Saturday. So instead of it being on the 4th, it'll be on Saturday the 2nd. And that's all I got.
Probably be better anyway.
That'd be a bigger crowd, nobody else is having it then, so good. Be good. All right, town attorney,
I don't have anything pressing unless anybody's got more questions.
Board of Commissioners, Max, Dean, Cassandra, Maxine, Will,
No.
all right. I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
I made a motion with a short recess.
That's what we voted on.
With a short recess.
You know, that was, he didn't say
Don't vote on it?
session, but that's what we.
All in favor say yes.
Yes.
William? Rayner?
Yes.
McClam? Stack? Mac?
Yes.
Will?
Yes.
We're in closed session.